In the Forsaken Realms where chaos reigns supreme and only the strong survive. I am your host, AoS Coach, the Bard of the Dark Gods, and in this episode, we march alongside the Darkoath, the indomitable warriors who pledge their souls to the chaotic powers. Today, I have the honor of a champion amongst champions, a top Darkoath performer whose prowess on the battlefield has earned him legendary status. Daniel Pitt has returned back to his tribe after conquering the Midwest Bash GT with an almighty 4-1 performance with Darkoath. That's right, Darkoath. Prepare yourself, listeners, for this deep dive into the heart of of darkness with a true legend of the tribes. Daniel, what is best in life?
I thought about that, and since we can't particularly crush our enemies and see them driven before you yada 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 yada, I would say what's best in the hobby is when you have completed a long and arduous building and painting job, and all you have to do is paint the rims on every single model. That is cream of the crop, best in life. Feels great. That's where I'm going.
I love it. I thought, I'm like, what is best in life? Painting your models, rolling dice.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say scoring.
Riddle of Steel.
I was going to say scoring battle tactics. Like, that's a really lame end into like slaying your enemy.
Yeah. You could get as corny as you wanted with it, but there's nothing. To me, there's nothing better than when you've worked on something for like 2 or 3 months, and all you got to do is do that thin little piece of paint around the rim, just to touch it up. Feels great.
I'm going to add one more thing, and then I'm going to introduce you properly. Well, I did introduce you properly, but let you talk. Name your characters, especially for something like Darkoath. Like, name your characters.
Name my characters. Boy, let's go with my chief on horse. Let's go with oh God, I don't know. Like maybe the like the Lizard Slayer. That dude. I mean, spoiler alert. I played like a 12 Proxigor turn 1, and the dude did not want to die, and he kind of just bonked 1 or 2 of Proxigor. So that's kind of impressive. So Mr. Lizard Slayer, and my 2 chiefs, maybe like Minion 1 and 2. They don't really do much to hang around and get stabbed, and of course my demon, Daniel the Demon.
Absolutely love it. So Dan Pitt, as I mentioned, has come back from 4-1, and this is a very Darkoath episode because there's obviously a number of reasons. 1, Darkoath are effing cool models. 2, I've seen a lot of people try to get the most of them out of the table. And for a lot of people who either try the Army of Renown or they go heavy in Darkoath, they haven't seen a lot of the table, a lot of success on the table. And when I woke up the other day, I was bombarded with talk to this guy. So this is an off the cuff, literally 48 hours after the end of this event. And I want to get into the goodness of Darkoath, how a top performing player is thinking about Darkoath, and whether you go full Darkoath, whether you go partial Darkoath, bring some of these strategies and ideas to the mix, because I think they're a really cool range that we just don't see enough of, and they feel like a little sleeper. And like you, Dan, I have that box. Got that FOMO box, and I run out of steam because I looked at the rules and I'm like, as cool as these models are, I love the War Queen, I love the Savages, I love Brand. I'm like, these are never going to hit the table unless they're a passion project. But now you've shown us the light. Introduce yourself.
Yeah. My name is Daniel Pitts. I've been playing Age of Sigmar since 2016, 17. It's first edition. It's the dark days of first edition. I moved back from California to Missouri and stayed in Springfield, and we have a store called Metagames. and that's where I met Cody Bailey and Tyler Emerson, and we're kind of like the last three original group, I suppose. Everyone else moved on, but they were really leaning into building the community here in Springfield, which we turned into Queen Sin Sigmar since then. And yeah, was taught the game, learned to love the game. Unfortunately, Cody had to be a jerk and move away to St. Louis. So we have a friend of mine, Travis Boyson, kind of took over the scene here a bit. You know, he's really talented organizer and keeps us rolling. We do Bolt Wars in October, and we do Guts and Glory throughout the year. So a lot of fun. We get a lot of people up here from all over the place. It always surprises me, like who just shows up out of nowhere to these events. And yeah, I had a great I had a great time learning the game over the years. Just started going to events and was fortunate enough to go to Worlds last year. Now I suppose, and just meet a lot of great people. Just had a great experience, man. The community is really what this game is about. I think. A lot of just high quality individuals you'll meet. Win, lose, draw. You usually make a friend at the end of the day. So, yeah. And now I'm here talking to you.
No, I could. And next month we'll talk live in the flesh at Adepticon. So there's another surprise we've got that we literally only just learnt minutes ago. So before we get into the actual discussion and I bring up your list and I bring up all the stuff, I think in honor of the Darkoath, we have to get this out. What are some of our favorite sword and sorcery movies? So do you like let's start the ball rolling. Like I've got my Darkoath. We're going to be inspired by this discussion. People are to go, right, I'm going to go paint that FOMO box. What am I going to put on the telly to get me through my painting journey? Go. Number one.
Yes. Yeah, well, you know, obviously the first thing you think of is Conan, right? It's classic. The first one, they all are, but the first one it's actually a really good movie. Classic. But
you're saying Barbarian, then Destroyer?
Yes. That's for me. Maybe it's a hot take. I don't know, but that's what I like. Beastmaster, amazing. And you know, sword and sorcery. I think it's. Now, most of them were really made in the 80s, I feel, and they're really corny, but you know, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. Beastmaster, the Barbarians. I don't know their name, but they're actual twin in real life, a super massive bodybuilder dude. Something. If you haven't seen the movie and you slightly like story, you'd have to watch it. It's so bad, it's good. You know, He-Man, you know, with Dolph Lundgren, I consider that sword and sorcery, you know, great bad movie. Gotta love it. You can't talk shit on it. You gotta, what else? I feel,
Red Sonja has to be there, right? Like, yeah, for Tony and Mcryan's great.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's a new movie coming out, Red Sonja, and yeah, we'll see. A little nervous about it. I don't think I want a 2025 movie to pick that on. I think that would. I think I would like. Yeah, I think I need to be born 35 years ago. Be a proper Red Sox movie. Maybe I just like the Metal the Keys a little bit more than I should in 2025. But yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Am I missing any great ones here? I'm sure I am. But
I had a couple of others like Legend, Excalibur, Highlander. I would say is a bit of sword and sorcery.
Oh, and yes, I would consider that a bit sword. I love Highlander. There's also oh man, what is it? The animation, heavy metal. No. Heavy metal, that's it. I wish they would do more of them type of animation. Like it still looks so good today if you watch it. Yeah. So lots of inspiration. And, you know, you have to love what you're doing in order to in order to paint and build and paint all of those models in that box, man. Feeling the what.
Conan the Barbarian, every time I watch it, I'm like, I got to paint Darkoath. The other Conan movie that you guys probably don't know, maybe 1% of you will know, that I'll give you the tip. Conan the Librarian. All right. There's literally less than 1% of people who know this movie. So Weird Al did a spoof movie called UHF. And basically, Weird Al is a part of like some really small regional TV station. And they've got like no budget. So they're doing most of this stuff in-house. And they have these really like Z-grade movies they show. And some of the infomercials they have is like Wheel of Fish, which is some Asian guy with a literally like Wheel of Fortune, but with fish, and like it's bizarre. But then they do these interludes with Conan the Librarian, and like he'll go in and go, "Don't you know the Dewey Decimal System?" Go on to YouTube, you'll laugh your ass off. You'll laugh your ass off. It's terrible.
I'm gonna have to hear that. That sounds great. Yeah, that sounds perfect. My kind of comedy, which is stupid.
It's got Kramer on it. It's got Dran Fresher. This is all really, really young versions of them. It's a very good movie, but it's a Weird Al. You'd never know it existed unless you're a Weird Al fan. But what I am a fan of is a Darkoath range. So let's talk about this. What got you playing Darkoath at Midwest Smash? Was it Smash? Bash.
Bash Smash.
No. Slam.
No. Yeah. Well. So I had. I'll just back up a little bit. So for like probably 3 years, I've been kind of preaching this deal, like, I really, in case you haven't, I do like Barbarian. I was like, man, I really wish they would come out with this really cool destruction faction that's just a bunch of shirtless dudes ravaging the world, like a barbarian, like your classic sword and sorcery barbarian army. I was like, man, I would buy like 2 free boxes. And down the road, Games Workshop sort of did that, but in a way that was, maybe we weren't expecting. Darkoath, there was a time when there wasn't Darkoath, like Marauders. There was, the horse in the water on horse. There wasn't Darkoath. And they kind of like slowly sort of like releasing, hey, this guy's called a Darkoath Chief, and then they're dropping this lore, and before you know it, you almost feel like there's a second faction within Blaze of Darkness, which is the Darkoath. You almost feel like they could make a book in the future that could just be these guys. And so I boxed 2 boxes when they came out, because I just love the aesthetic. I love those. I don't know. No one probably has, but maybe you. When you build one of these things and you look at it, there's a ridiculous amount of detail. If you know a little about the lore, they have these oak rocks, the runes, and each single one of these, have one, and they are, you can get super detailed if you want to, and their background's great. But I was originally going to go to the Midwest Bash with Seraphon. I had a double Carnosaur doubles. It's a cool Seraphon, though. Cool.
I love Seraphon. I just want to boo you because this is the Darkoath show. So boo Seraphon. Yay, Darkoath.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna go, but then but I realized, I built and painted like 70, like 60, 70 Darkoath stuff, and other stuff, and I never really played them. So the last week I decided, I'm gonna test. I'm gonna test this. So I played my my good friend Tyler Emerson at the store. Proceeded to whip my candy butt with my own army, my own corn army, which felt great. And so usually I think a lot of people would be like, well, this is hot track. I think I'll just go with what I was going to go. But No, I just felt even more inspired to use them. I think partially because I just like a challenge. It makes the games funner. Um, and so I decided to lock in the list. And the day before we played, I stayed at my friend Curly Bailey's house, and I played again in his basement against the Zeech. Proceeded to get beat again.
We're 0-2 at this point. So list is locked in at the GT.
Yeah.
So you've got 0-2, had been whooped by Korn, whooped by Zinch.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh no. Yeah.
So I don't know. There's something about going into an event with not a lot of expectation, I suppose. Not to say like I thought it was a bad list or anything, but I'm just like, if I do well, that'll be great. It makes winning feel even better if I win. Yeah, that's kind of like the journey I got there. I just came to the Midwest Bash with something that I don't think anyone really looked twice at. Well, maybe they did, just sort of like snicker at it. But no, it kind of it turned out really really well because and I had a really good match in my second game, which I'm sure we'll get to, which really showcased what the bread and butter typical S tier slaves list going up against that looks like. And I think that's when a lot of people kind of like gave me an eyebrow because it was like, whoa, what's going on right now?
I saw that list like last night preparing for this. I looked through like your opponents and you'd played Gits, Ogres, IDK.
It was a rough, yeah.
And when I then looked at the slaves and I saw it was that one drop with what Varangard, Chosen, the Sorcerer Lord.
Everything you would think, the tried and true and tested.
There was a Be'lakor as well. I believe is Darrel. Like I saw that and went, that was because you went 4-1. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh, that has to be the list you lost again. No, that was not the list you lost at. So that got me even more curious. I'm like, who is this guy? All right, let's bring up the rules. I want to get into this list in a minute. Prior to getting to the list, though, I do want to ask you a little bit about the latest battle scroll that came out. This is December 2024, so it's the latest rules tweak. Couple of things for you, I guess I'd love. I guess your perspective. One, obviously, you've gotten the banners in general, right? Like beyond the battle tome brought you the Ensorcelled Banners, and given that you've got a couple of units, not all of them, who can take the banner, I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about the banner. And were you using the banner of Screaming Flesh, or are you what type of marks are you working towards? The other one, obviously, is the change at the Eyes of the Gods, which means then the Tribes of the Snow Peaks, which is the Army of Renown dedicated to Darkoath. Even though it's not the Darkoath battle formation, there is that Army of Renown. Does any of this mean anything to you or much to you as a Darkoath player?
Yeah, so this actually was also my first time using the new Slaves of Darkness. I've plenty of experience playing in the third and second, with the slaves, but this was my first time playing the new Slaves of Darkness. Not a lot of massive changes, but I really found that especially the marking was just amazing. Being able to tell your opponent, one of the first questions you're asked is like, can you run in charge? Can you 3d6 charge? Can you get from A to B in your turn? And the answer is maybe. And it can put a player on tilt just knowing that you have the ability to, make something fight a lot harder, a lot more attacks than you expected with Corn, which I use quite a lot. Or, maybe I can get over there if I put a slow action on it. Or one of the more packed ones is like, oh, maybe you don't have me in combat. I have heat. It's which I never used. But, it was always there, right? And so yeah, the marking, the way the marks work, it's just amazing to me. It gives you so much flexibility, and yeah, I was trying to use that to the full extent of what I had. As for the banners, there are several things I would change with the list. One of them was probably the banner. I had
Let me bring up the list. Let bring it up to context, and then we can go into the proper rules in a minute if we talk more about the banners and talk more about. But this is the list, folks. I'll read it out, and then I'll get Dan to respond for the people who are listening. So it's Slaves of Darkness army. It is a Dark Oath Horde, so not the Army of Renown. It is the battle formation Dark Oath Horde. You've gone with the Law of the Damned. You have the Kronspine Incarnate as your manifestation law. You are 4 drops. Drop number 1, get ready for story time with Coach. You have Dark Oath Chieftain, who is the general. You then have a reinforced unit of Dark Oath Fell Riders with the Banner of Rage, and you've got your Fell Rider Blades. You have your Dark Oath Marauders, who are reinforced. You have a Dark Oath Wield the Fiend. Can't wait to talk about this one because a lot of mixed feelings about the Wield the Fiend I hear from the community. Regiment 1. Regiment 2, Dark Oath Chieftain on Warsteed, Dark Oath Chieftain, Dark Oath Marauders Reinforced, Dark Oath Wield the Fiend. Regiment 3, Demon Prince, which is the Deathmonger, the Conqueror's Crown, Wings, and Pledge to Corn, 2 units of Furies. Unit 4 is Gunner, Brand, and Friends. So the little Regiment of Renown kind of, not Regiment of Renown, but a little package of Gunner. So that's your list. Go for it. Tell me more about this list and how it works and what you're doing and why, where, and as we were talking about before we hit live, where is the queen? Where is my Dark Oath queen?
Yeah. So, yeah, I wanted to fit as much. I kind of wanted to have several groups. When I'm positioning my stuff. And with this list, what it turned into was I would have 3 threats on the table, 3 groups of threats. It was nearly always a chief, with his 20 marauders and a wilderfiend. Okay, and you put them together, you put them to one side, put them somewhere, and then you do that again. Chief, marauders, wilderfiend. Put it on another side. And then you're left with, your a lot of stuff. I mean, you have your the biggest hitting piece is going to be the Fell Riders. So I put them somewhere, and then got your Furies, your Demon, Gunner Brand, and his Fingery. So it's kind of like you have like a group of like an area where you have kind of like a synergy, and this is an army of synergy. A lot of folks like to say synergy gone in AoS, but there is a lot of synergy with Darkoath. Yeah, your chief helps out with the marauder. Your wilderfiend feeds off of the death that the marauders will go. Your chief helps with the murder rolls going back. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening, and if you lose your 20 marauders, it's not the end of the world. You're just getting started. It was kind of the idea that I wanted to have several groups of kind of like seemingly trash, but groups of trash that you can make diamonds from. And that's kind of the whole point of Darkoath and a list like this, is that you are trying to punch up constantly. You have to accept your stuff. Most of your stuff is going to die, but you have to make the decision how and where. How are they going to die? Oh, well, I want them dying fighting 10 chosen. That's what I want them doing. And you can make that decision. You can get over there. You can position in such a way where you are able to get maybe 81 attacks on 10 chosen and kill 5 of them, say, and then they'll all die, and you'll kill maybe another one. And before you know it, you lost 160 points, probably 80 at the end of the day, and your opponent is down 270. And it's kind of like a battle of attrition. So that was kind of the idea, is you're sort of trading, you have to trade up. You're trying to get more work than what they are worth. And it's actually not hard to do. It happens over and over and over again because the massive attacks that you have the potential of dealing. It can be kind of staggering. Things kind of align a certain way. So that's the overall idea of the list. The Wilder Fiends, I hear the shit talking all the way from here about the Wilder Fiends. So first of all, they're cool. So there's something to be said about that. But it happens time and time again where they kind of get underestimated in a way that they have a 5 armor and 5 ward of 9 wounds. Well, that's very weird map for a lot of people. And so they'll put an X amount of attacks into him, and he's not dead. Like sometimes he just doesn't die. And if he doesn't die, it's very easy to heal him back or to him just be a nuisance, or just let him die and do some mortal wounds. So, and then guess what? He's going to come back. It's sort of, I can understand using any of this stuff in any other faction that's not Darkoath board, and it being complete, dog to dog. Okay, but the Darkoath Horde is in my opinion, the best sub faction in Slaves of Darkness, and I don't feel like that's a very big hot take because the other sub factions don't normally do a lot for you. This in Darkoath Horde, you are leaning into this sub faction really hard, and it's the army of 3-ups, man. Like if you don't roll your 3-ups, it does feel bad. It's a feel bazzy. Like this can be the most feel bad army you'll ever play. If you're really bad at rolling a 3-up, I'm warning you, do not play this army. You will not have a good time. You need your 3-up on your Furies, and they're amazing. And I can get into them. They're at paramount to this list. You need your 3-ups to return units. You need your 3-ups to do more wounds with the Wilder Fiends. I mean, you need your 3-ups.
And sorry, I'm laughing at you as well because I'm a Gargan player, right? And we also love 3-ups. So like, you want to colossal slam somebody, it's a 3-up. You want to do something cool, it's a 3-up. So I understand the rocks and diamonds that is. When it happens, it's amazing. When it doesn't happen, it sucks.
Well, it's like, it's a 3-up. So in your brain, you're like, I would rather have a 4 than a 3-up in many ways. But in your brain, you're already there, right? You're like, okay, I'm going to make my 3-up and I'm going to do this, this, and this. And then you roll a 2 or something. And you're like, you know what? I'm just going to throw the table and I'll just roll. No, but yeah. So this is an army of 3-ups. I guess just really quick, the Gunner Brand gang. I need a spellcaster, kind of perfect. I also needed some more characters because you need a Darkoath character in order to bring keep the recursion going. So you get 2 with this band, which is great. And also Sindri, she's a perfect protection unit against covering fire. You throw her in front of your really easy to kill marauder or something important, and they have to shoot her, and they can only hit her on 6. So he's a great piece. Gunner Brand actually was the least like himself. He was, I don't know, I kind of used him to zone sometimes. He kind of like tried to go in there, do some damage, and I don't know, he just immediately sort of poots into nothingness. So but the Regiment 3, the Demon Prince, and the Furies, honestly, they're just so important to this list. I know it's cheating a little bit. It's not particularly Darkoath. In my narrative, he's their former chief, so it makes sense in my head. But the Demon Prince, he's amazing. I'm surprised I don't see him more often in any armies, and maybe he will start popping up at some point. But he's got that speed. I put Deathmonger on him twice. He's probably going to live because he's actually pretty tanky. Conqueror's Crown, completely useless. I'll talk shit on this for a minute. Like, I objective control in this game, it rarely comes. Third edition was so important. I don't know how many times I had to count. We had to count, and we might take an objective by 1 or 2 guys or something. In this game, I don't know if it's because we all just kill each other way too fast, or the objectives are smaller. I don't know, but it just never comes up. It never comes up. So,
smaller. We've got we don't have the double reinforced units anymore, and we've gone into more elite Death Stars, where in the past we've had way more bodies, like those 60 zombies. You've had hordes, and yeah, you're right. And it was funny because I another going back to a previous conversation I just recorded last night was another Suns one. We were talking about objective control, and it never came up, even with the Man Crusher, which is only OC 10. It's either you've got it or I got it. It was very clear cut, no contesting and things like that. And it's interesting when you look at Stormcast, who have a bunch of positive OC modifiers. Other factions have negative modifiers to OC. Doesn't seem like a big thing yet. Maybe the meta will turn eventually and we'll go more infantry. But right now, you're right. It's not the biggest influencer to games yet.
Yeah, I played over 12 hours of AoS over the weekend, and it didn't come up once. so I don't know. It is what it is. It could be great. Could be great. That one game where you really need that -5, and for folks who don't know, it's a -5. You subtract 5 from objective control from enemy infantry units in combat with you. That's the deal. Sounds great, and I was sure maybe once or twice it would come up, but man, it didn't. It just didn't. So I pledged him the corn. If I was to do this list again, which I probably would, yes, Nurgle is better. Especially after playing 5 games, it would be nicer if he would live a little bit longer. Again, I didn't think I would be. I didn't think I'd go particularly far with this list, so it's a little bit more narrative for me since I am very much a corner player. But 7 attacks, fighting twice with 14. You're doing 14 flat 3 damage checks with mortals. I mean, that's not nothing. So, yep. Again, just trying to hit up. Always trying to hit up. The 2 Furies. I mean, I can't talk enough about these guys. I don't think I would ever want to play an SPD match without them. They're amazing. If you are facing another melee army, just full-on melee army, they're in trouble because they cannot, unless I roll a pre-up or I position them in such a way they can pile into them, they're not ever going to die. And they will always be threatening back objectives, getting battle tactics. You can mark them. So there's that. If they need to, at one point in the game, I marked them corn, and I just really need to kill Stragnot, and man, they sure helped out. So, yeah, they're amazing. I can't recommend them enough. Yes, they're expensive, but you know what? 20 points a model at worth.
Yeah, they're such a good unit. You've answered a lot of my questions, but unfortunately for you, I have a laundry list of questions come from the Discord again. Again, I woke up and it was just every man and his dogs who is this guy? How did he do it? And 100 messages going, Coach, you need to talk to this guy. So very, very excited. So we might do rapid fire round and then I'll go back to the rules. Are you ready? God, there's a lot of questions. So I think you've kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'll ask it anyway in case there's more thoughts to add to it. How do you deploy your Darkoath and use them to ensure that you can trade and not just fold to enemy hammers?
Right. Well, I'll answer the second one first. Is that you do fall to enemy hammers? Okay, it's gonna happen. Like it's there's no way around just getting hit, getting killed with a 5-up armored 20 wound, blob of marauders. Like it's gonna happen, and I wouldn't say every single time. If you get lucky, maybe you don't, but you kind of, I think that's one of the challenges for this type of list is that you have to get around the fact that your stuff's gonna get killed, man. You're not even when I won my first game, got a 50. It wasn't because I just ran across the board and overwhelmed everything. They just couldn't handle all these marauders and stuff. And it was just too much, and it was because of recursion, placement, and just hitting back, and getting scoring. That's the name of this army too. So yeah. And the first question was positioning. So I think I touched on this a little earlier. I like to. We played a plethora of 6-8 objective battle plans, which was great for this list. So I positioned my guys in groups. So you got your chief marauders, Wilderbane, and then another group of chief marauders, Wilderbane. I rarely even attempted to threaten the center that much. A lot of times it was like to the mid sides. If that makes any sense, sort of like I can get to the center if I really need to, but I'm not really going to challenge you head on. You're going to have to pick left or right, or if you want to go both, then maybe I can have the advantage and overwhelm you. So, the biggest challenge that was the majority. That's the majority of my army right there. But the biggest challenge I found was positioning the Fell Riders, because people look at the list and they kind of know which is the scariest thing. Even though a lot of the lists can be scary, and that's I can go into that later. It's sort of on the low key. Before you know it, you're rolling 55 saves on maybe Ren 1. But the Fell Riders were always laser focused for my opponents. That's the first thing. They just eyeball. They licking their lips. How can I just tap that 10 in combat and just stop that 2 flat T damage? And most of the time they did it, and it was a little frustrating because it got to be to where I was deploying them so far back because there's a plethora of ways to tag something in this game. So I would just deploy them, just play it safe, maybe a mid game, piece. But I eventually learned you do need to protect your Fell Riders and deploy them very safe. So that's how I deployed them. Eventually, when I stopped making mistakes, just really far to either on your own deployment, almost touching the map, or behind something, just somewhere safe. At the end of the day, even if you don't use them turn 2, they're a huge threat in round 3, 4, and 5. So, and I would also change the banner, since we're talking about them, knowing what I know now, to the screaming icon, I think it's called, still in action.
Yeah. That allows you to protect them and be a bit more conservative, and then project when you want to project, which you're seeing a lot. You're seeing a lot of Ogoroids are tapping into this and seeing, Sean did really well with Ogoroids. I'm seeing
Sean did amazing. He's been preaching Ogoroids for a long time, and he finally got his first 5-0, and congratulations to him.
Yes, sir. people are also asking for that show. We'll see how we go. A couple of slave shows in a couple of factions I haven't even talked about in 4th edition, so I feel a bit selfish. But if you want more slaves, you tell me in Discord. While we're on the theme of this, by the way, one thing that really stands out to me is that your 4 drops. Now, that's not a surprise, but it stands out because the average right now is 2 to 3. So you're not going to get a choice on who gets to take first. And one of the questions that came up was, given you probably will get given first, and there's a good chance that people are thinking about double turning you and potentially crushing you with that 1 to 2. How do you kind of set up your first turn, and do you have particular battle tactics you play towards in that early game?
Yeah. So yes, I did. In the 5 games I played, I went first 4. And the only reason I didn't go first 5 is because my opponent, who won the roll up, because we were both 4, decided to take first turn. Oh no, I retract. I didn't have priority one time in 5 rounds, but I was given turn twice. Once in the first game and once in the last game. Or I was given second. They went first. So you just have to assume that you're going first. That's it. You have to assume you're going first, and you have to. You also at the same time have to assume that if you leave something really vulnerable, that they could take first turn if they have the ability to get there. Which I learned a valuable lesson in my first game about that. Yep. So taking first turn, when you assume that you're going to take it, you're like, what am I going to do? Well, it usually comes down to 2 things. Are you going to use the center, or are you going to take the points? I chose to take the points because I have the perfect unit to do it. Like the Furies. I mean, they got their 12-inch move. They can get over there. They can sit there. If your opponent wants to play, like, I'm going to teleport. It's always a concern when I played IDNet. Like, they can teleport and just stop something from using the center. It happens all the time. Really good players will want you to try that. And, Jake didn't even try because he knew. You can't stop them. That you're going to charge you, and I'm probably going to roll a 3 up. Go even further. So yeah, Fury, take the points. Take the planks. I got that battles tactic 5 times out of 5. And so turn 1, battle tactic wasn't concerned. When it comes to the double turn, yeah, in general, I think the double turn is only good for hyper experienced players. And I was playing hyper experienced players. The Midwest batch is full of the St. Louis crew and everybody. They're all just super good. But you still get tripped up with it, because as good as a double turn can be, if you're stuck fighting a couple Marauders and some Fell Riders and maybe a Wilder Queen, that's your whole double turn, is just trying to get out of combat or try to do some more damage to me. It's a massive disadvantage to you going forward. And a lot of double turns happen turn 2, turn 3, and there's still a lot of game left. So it was always a concern that I would get just tabled, like which almost happened. Well, it did happen in the game I lost, but it almost happened in another game. But you want to lose things in a way that you can recur them and not have nothing left on the board. So yes, the double turn is always a concern. Yes, it can happen, but it's also, I just think in general, it's just crap. A lot of times it's just crap. Like, if you can't win the game, don't double turn. Just don't do it. Like, it's going to bite you in the butt, especially with an army that can bring back things behind your lines and on your objectives, like as the game goes forward, and be the underdog the rest of the game. Like, they're almost doing me a favor. If you don't just win the game, you're almost doing me a favor, because I'm going to get whatever underdog advantage it is. Most of the time they're bad. Sometimes they're really good though. I will utilize that one extra CP. I mean, I'm greedy. I love in this army. So anyway, but that's the gist of it. Just the double diamond don't really answer a double turn. I mean, you always have to think about it, but you kind of have to hope that you were, and this did happen, that I'm just dogging down his best units, and he's just using his double turn to get out of the fight, which at the end of the day doesn't do a whole lot because I'm probably bringing it back, and I'm probably not a big deal. Probably like 200 points worth of stuff, So
Correct me if I'm wrong. I imagine that you aren't concerned about being double turned as much as other armies for a couple of reasons. I'm going to say them out aloud, and then you tell me yay or nay. The reason you've taken a lot of heroes is because you can do the regeneration, right? If you're a Darkoath player taking only a couple of heroes, let's say 2 or 3, there's a really high likelihood that those heroes die, which then shuts down your regeneration, which then shuts down your ability to respond to the double turn. You have a lot of reinforced units. So I do see, I see a mixture of Darkoath players, and they'll take a lot of like just minimum size, flood the board with trash, not reinforcing, and just bringing things back quickly with that with a five model unit rather than going for the 10. The other piece as well, what was I going to say? There's a couple of things like when I look at this, and I'm like, obviously your Darkoath ability is coming from the backfield, and the synergy. Sorry, that's the other thing, right? There's a lot of discussion around the Will to Fiend, and a lot of people don't seem to be a fan of it, or if they do, they have one. But the fact that you've created this little triangle of the Will to Fiend feeding off the Marauders, which then has the Darkoath hero, because you've got these little bubbles, you're able to respond. It's not a 1-to-1; it's like a 1-on-3. So even if you do try to double, I've still got something to fight back. And as your Marauders are dying, those Will the Fiend are getting stronger using those ritual points or whatever it is. Yeah. And then it'll do its thing, right? And then you do your regeneration, your recursion, whatever. So because of those couple of things, it means that it's not as impactful. Yeah, it's still scary, but it's not like it's going to table you and your game's done on a single dice roll.
Right. Yeah. No, you kind of nailed it there. And yes, it's the little 90-point chief, which is what he is currently. Like I kind of said at the beginning, the whole point of the army is punching up. And 90, but what can you get with 90-point chief, man? Well, you can give 20 more attacks to a unit. How about that? Or you can do maybe like 2, 4, 6 mortal wounds on a hit. I mean, that's pretty good too. So it's like what's the expectations for my 90-point little character? Not a whole lot, like to get past that 90-point curve. And as long as you are going above your weight, like you're going to do well. As long as you are trading like oh yeah, you killed my chief, my 20 guys, and got my Wilder Fiend down to like 2 wounds. But you know what? They also did 200, 250 points of damage to you. Not a bad trade. Wilder Fiend, I wouldn't use a Wilder Fiend. I wouldn't just raw dog Wilder Fiend like a regular Blades of Darkness would. I think I use that, sir.
You've got the Chaos Slave, You've got the Spawn, the Chaos Spawn. If you're a traditional Slaves player, you've got the Spawn that can do the same job, probably better.
Well, really, I'll do the Chef Ramsay here to really elevate the Welder Fiend from trash to amazing. We'll see them they're amazing in this list. Is all the death that's happening around them. When you start unlocking their potential with shutting down, the biggest one, the most clutch one, is shutting down CP to a key unit. If you can do that, and I did more than once in my games, if you can do that, it really just like your army can just turn on because you're essentially going to be maybe rent 2 or 3 on some units, and suddenly he's like a superstar, right? Uh, Plus, as I alluded to, it's kind of weirdly hard to kill. I like the map is weird. Not saying like he's particularly hard to kill, but like some people, like I'll tell them the stats, and they are I'm gonna put like 5, hacks and a couple more attacks. He should be dead, right? I'm like, I don't know. And then they'll do it, and he'll be alive. And then he doesn't degrade. He's got like 3 D3 damage attacks, 6 flat 2 damage. Like it's not nothing. It's time and time again he was pulling above his weight. I mean, he's like 140 points. It's not much. Pulling above his weight is all you can ask. Like it's all you can ask from this list of this army. And then you know what? Hurry up, he's coming back, and he's gonna be coming back in a weird place where your opponent doesn't want a Wilderfiend. Like no matter how bad a Wilderfiend is, he can probably eat a really key wizard, or he can tie down something partially important for a turn. Like it's not trash when he's in this sub faction. He's gold. So yeah. So the Wilderfiend, I get it. But when you outside of Darkoath Forge or like very niche, like I don't know, like probably more of a love pick, but in a Darkoath Forge, I think he's almost a must pick, at least one. Like they're just so clutch. Like I love them. They're great.
And while we just stay on the Wilderfiend just a little long, because I want to go back to something around the heroes. When you look at your primal sorcery, am I assuming, based on your previous comments, that Mind Shroud is normally your first pick? So when you're using those abilities, are is it Dark Might? Is it the Warping Balefire? Like, what's the one that you go to the most? Or are there situations that the decision tree?
Yeah. So actually, I was going back and forth quite a bit with him. I think overall, it was just doing some. He was just trying to do some damage before he died. So the bail, and it's great. There's 12 inches. Like there's no lookout, sir. There's nothing helping. Like you can just pick something, just hella far away, and be like, he might die right now, depending how many 3-ups, the greatest 3-up I roll. So most of the time it was the bail, but I got to say that clutchest times was when I was trying to pick on a very key, large pointed unit, like my last game, which was the ogres. Very key moment. I had 2 ritual points, and I was like, you know what? If I can stop this, longhorn, what's that called? Tuskhorn. I don't. They're big cow. If I can stop this cow from using command points this turn, I think I can kill it. And I was able to roll a 5-up and couldn't redeploy. Couldn't all defense, couldn't do anything but stand there and get hit with a bunch of Fell Riders, and it's great. Couldn't do that without a Waterfall. So, well.
Yeah, Mind Shroud, obviously, it's situational, but being able to, especially if you've got the dreaded double turn, right? You've had a bunch of death that's happened around it in the last turn. You then have a bunch of points. You can shut that down, so at least it allows you to reduce the amount of damage that potentially is going in, or it allow you to do something else. So obviously, pick, that the Wilderfiend's dying a little bit. You can obviously heal up, and again saves you that rally dice.
Yeah, that's a key thing is you can't use it. You can only use it in your own hero phase. I wish it was both. Like if it was both phases, I think suddenly the Wilderfiend goes a lot up, like up in bonks, because you'd be able to do, and that would be a really cool change if they would do that. You'd be able to do, okay, you're gonna do this. You're gonna do this battle tactic. All right, well, we'll see. Well,
Yeah, actually, yeah. I just bringing up the rules in the app, and I do see it's your hero face, not any hero face. I don't know, just let them have it. Like it's.
Just give it to give the boys thing. Come on.
Oh man, don't be slack. But yeah, okay, all right. Well, but anyway, long story short, there's some good abilities there. Allows you to, if you're preparing for a combat, cool. Shut off the command and then go in and have a field day.
Yeah.
Maybe one more burning question, then I might go the rules again and just get your just high level thoughts. A lot of comments around the strike first, strike last shenanigans, right? And you were talking about the Conan on foot, your Darkoath chieftain, right? And you've got that kill the hero, and you then get strike first. You've then got the 1-2 punch, which allows you to fight immediately with those marauders, and then get that +1 attack. And there's some juicy little combinations, and then potentially if you shut down commands, you get more value from that little synergy. And again, I think that's the theme here is that, and one of the questions that somebody else asked was, if you were a regular Slaves player and you were just, if I want to bring in a little contingency of Darkoath, what would that contingency look like? And what I'm hearing from you over the last hour is it's not one unit. Like when you look at that list, it's a pile of trash. But when you start synergizing the trash, you start getting cut, you start getting infected, and you'll start getting damaged. You're not Nurgle, but you get the point, right? Like it's the sum of the parts that make it incredible. Just like your dog who just walked in. Shout out to the dog.
Yeah, you want to see it? Oh, okay, he left. All right.
He's just checking you out. Yeah. Anyway, lots.
But talking to myself, so he's a little concerned.
Like, what are you on about? How important is that strike first, or even the ability to then go 1-2 between the chieftain and the marauders?
Yeah. So, man, I wish it was easier to get strike first with the chief. It's such a tough oath. It's like,
and hero will kill a monster.
Oh man, it's so hard. Like that's the dream, right? It's the dream. The only time I was able to do that was in my non-tournament game with my friend Cody, or Tyler, I think it was. But yeah, I wasn't able to do it once. Like I tried. I mean, there's time from like, ooh, is it gonna be juicy? Like, and then you got 5 attacks that probably not gonna do enough. But if you do, and there are times where it could have happened, it's juicy. It's super juicy. I mean, you can activate 3. You could activate the Demon Prince on a 4-up, and your chief, and then your Marauders, and then 4, I guess. So that would be that. Oh, I'm right. Yeah, 3. No, but it could be juicy, but man, they don't make it easy for you. Even Gunnar Brand, there was a moment where it was him and a chaos lord met in the middle, and they had this duel, and even him, he just left the dude on 1 wound. I'm like, what are you doing? Sacrificed place. What are you doing, man? Just do the one thing. Can you do the one thing for me? And so it's kind of like the dream, and I kind of like you have a dream. Like I have a dream to kill another hero with a chief, and it's fun to try, but yeah, I don't know. The funner dream I've done, is getting to be a Demon Prince. That's a far more achievable dream, and it did happen for me.
Yeah. I'm going to bring up the rules in a second. All I was going to say was, I don't know what I was going to say. We'll just move along. I'll remember it in the shower tomorrow. I'm like, I was going to say this on the stream. What was I going to say? Oh, I know what I was going to say is the meta right now doesn't incentivize this ability, right? It's almost like a wait and see, because right now you have people going very heavy low drops. There's a lot of superheroes in the mix right now. So for you to trigger that ability, it's kill a hero or kill a monster. And there's not a lot of standalone monsters that aren't hero monsters out there right now. So it means you're either trying to kill an infantry hero that there isn't a lot of because they're not sub-commanders and people don't want to have too many battalions or regiments. And then the heroes that you are fighting are often very powerful heroes that a Darkoath chieftain is probably not going to go one-on-one and slay a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, a Frost Lord on Stonehorn, like all of these types of... Probably not. So, but again, if that meta shifts and we move more infantry and there's a lot more sub-commander type roles and there's much more idiots on the field, this is
which honestly I think is going to you. I think we are going to see more foot here because the DW is really leaning into Like I feel like uh, uh, a focus for them is to make foot heroes great again. Not like they ever were, but like like keep incentivizing, bringing them up. I do think, I mean, in this last tournament, I mean, I did definitely see some foot heroes that would not have made it, even a few months ago. So, yeah, it's exciting to see. I really like foot heroes. Like they're cool. Like, bring back foot heroes. Come on.
As they change pitch battle profiles and allow those little sub-commander, like 5-wound idiots who can just join a battalion or regiment without being a regiment leader, like the more that they add those into the mix, I think you see more and more of them. Yeah. But when I have one hero that has to lead a regiment and I'm like, does this 90-point hero really, is it really worth the extra drop? Am I really building around it? Yeah. Anyway, long story short, I'm like, it might not be great now, but just hold it. Because if the meta shifts a little, actually could be a really decent rule. It's just not rewarding you right now. Yeah. All right, we're going to rapid fire this one and just get some thoughts because I think we've already touched on a little bit of it. So as a Darkoath player, I guess you've talked a little bit about your pledges, you've talked a little bit about the banners. So let's imagine you've just done your Midwest tournament. It was awesome. You're thinking about your next tournament performance. How are you thinking about your pledges? What advice or what things would you share around the eyes of the gods and the dark apotheosis? Talk to me about the battle formation, battle traits, and how you make the most of it.
Yeah. So, there's several changes that I would make using the list again, or essentially the same list again. The Eye of the Gods. So every single time I chose, and that's a big reason why he's in the list. I chose the Chief on speed. He's the most survivable. He's also really cheap. So when you get the Demon Prince, you feel really good. He's really fast. He can get to places. I was able to, a lot of our missions were there were objectives that were wholly outside your territory. So I was able to run over there, immediately start that apotheosis points. There's a lot of other things to consider. So my opponent wasn't really focused on killing the chief, So yeah, the dark apotheosis, the dark apotheosis trait. So yeah, actually, I like it. I really like you have this sort of like submission. This quest that you're doing while you're playing the game. I'm just a huge fan of those type of ideas. I hope they need more of that in other factions. You're playing a mini game within a game. The Eye of the Gods. I think I jabbed on about that for a while. I just love it. I love I love the way you can just pledge things. It really makes the Slave to Darkness army just be so flexible.
Who are you making? Who are you picking traditionally to be that non-unique warrior of chaos or Darkoath hero to be the trigger that Eyes of the Gods?
Yep, it was my Darkoath Chief on speed. So he's got 7 wounds with 4 save. He's not to a Darko. He's so tanky, but he's just super fast and he's able to get to places and start getting those points. I was able to turn him into a prince once. I almost did it again. And it's just something your opponent has to be conscious of if they don't want another demon prince running around. So yeah, it was always him. You put it on a chief, but if you blink, they're dead. If you sneeze, they're dead. If you cough, they're dead. So, the chief, 9 type
on steep because of the speed of being able to go contest objectives outside of territory and the fact that it's got extra wounds. It's a little bit more durable. That this makes it a good candidate because you're right. You put a chieftain on foot, you can lose those apotheosis points very, very quickly.
Yeah. He was perfect. He's a perfect candidate if you really want to want a very humble hero, maybe turn into a really badass demon prince. pick the war chief on Steve, like evasion for that. Yeah, the pledge to chaos. I was mostly like focused on punching up. Like I said this a million times. So corn. I wasn't really concerned with like getting into the fight factor. There was more than one game where I was being cagey, very very cagey, and I'm sure it was very annoying. They would sit there and wait for me. Like they were so sure I'm coming in with all these marauders and then I just like not only not go in, I'll go back. And so just buying time, corn, once you start swinging, it's important to get some value. So corn was the main one I would use. The second one was Slaanesh because, as I said, many times I would move back. And then maybe they wouldn't do what I wanted to do. So I'd have to pledge them corn and try to get them into a fight, So Slaanesh, and they're two just very different pledges. Like one is like, I need a fight now. The other one is like, I need to get to the fight. So they're really good back and forth there. Nurgle, I've never used Nurgle. I never will use Nurgle in like a darker. I don't see the point using Nurgle on even like 20 marauders. Like maybe there's a better player. It's like I believe they can live. But that's not me. Like I said though, the Demon Prince, I would probably make them Nurgle. There's just been times where it's like, I just need one or two more wounds to live. That would have been much. Zeech, I don't know. I never used Zeech, to be honest. I never used this pledge. I've looked at it and I was like, you know what? This could be a really good piece to maybe put on a Wilderfane and get them out somewhere, put them in an awkward position. I never really came up, but I can see the potential. There's potential there for some like wonky Zeech, like just a maneuver where you just are in one spot and then you're way over here and then you can do something. So, Zeech is like a giant question mark. So, but I would definitely pledge my Fell Riders to Slaanesh in the future, and I would definitely pledge my Demon to Nurgle, have a little more variety. But other than that, I think Corn and Slaanesh, they're just they work so well in tandem with each other. It's like when you're fighting Corn, when you're not, when you're trying to get there, Slaanesh.
I'm going to throw an idea out at you and you tell me yay or nay. I partially think it'll be a narrative nay, but a competitive maybe yay. So one of the most popular strategies right now for slaves is getting that Gort Summoner on foot. It's clearly pledged to Tzeentch. Use that Tzeentch pledge to then teleport up the board, bring out the Silver Tower, and deliver that mechanism with the 3d6 charge. And, that works really well with Chosen. You talked a little bit about protecting your Fell Riders and the delivery mechanism to help them charge. Do you see a world where maybe you do that 1-2 punch of Silver Tower, Tzeentch, Gort Summoner, pledged to Slaanesh, Fell Riders, 3d6?
Yeah. I definitely thought about that. In fact, I think the first list I made, Darkoath, I had doing almost exactly that, except not with Fell Riders, even though they do punch a lot harder. I did it with just the Humble Marauder reinforced. And then hopefully, the Fell Riders have that 12-inch move. They don't need that as much help. But the reason I didn't was because in my list it would bring me down to 3 Darkoath heroes, and I need that recursion in the mid to late game. And they die. I mean, especially if you're playing experienced players, which there isn't a lot right now that's to get that experience in the Darkoath board. But I always try to make it clear. I think this is how it works. If they laser focus and kill my 3 heroes, and it doesn't matter if I can do this one trick pony, I'm probably losing the game because, well, all my stuff will be dead, and there's nothing I can do about it. So, but I do love the Gaunt Summoner and doing that trick. It's just the list, at least my list, would have to radically change because I'm not comfortable with anything less than 4, I would say. essentially I had to choose between a Gaunt Summoner and Gunnerbrand's game, and I chose the Gunnerbrand because not only do I have one pass, I have two heroes, and they can do, especially Singreaves, we can do a part for a different thing for me. So yeah.
Yeah, and I guess, like I was thinking about it, like, okay, cool, you could do the Silver Tower. You've got range 10 for missile weapons, so you'll still be in range to do some shooting. Unlike the Chosen, for example, which is the common delivery mechanism right now, you don't have that durability. Yeah, you've got 3 wounds, but you got a 5-up armor save. So if you're going to do it, you need to delete something and not die in return. And I imagine that they just puts your Fell Riders at a very easy target to then, you kill the thing, but then they're going to die equally. And was it worth the trade? And probably the answer is most likely no.
Yeah. It's 10 Fell Riders. I think they're a bargain at 300 points. They're great. They're a great 300 point unit. And yes, they hit hard on the charge, and I have they came through on round round 5 for me, game 5 for me, and in my last weekend. But just using them just for the DPS and not their speed. It doesn't feel great. Like you're getting them in there, but like, it's like then the only way I would maybe do it is if I was to get them in there and then tag something, and then they have 30 wounds to deal with. It's a lot of that. They're beefy wound wise, so maybe, but I don't know. Like I think you could do the Gaunt Summoner trick and with just Marauders, and you could throw them in there, and they do a lot of damage. And when they die, at the end of the game, so you can do it. It's just like kind of like a firecracker. Here you go. They're gonna hit above their weight, and then they're gonna die. Another problem with that though is they're probably not doing murder rolls back, which hurts because murder rolls is quite nice, but they'll be too far away from characters. So the guy loved the Gaunt Summoner, and like John was using them with the Oroids, and it's just scary and it's amazing, and but maybe not in a Darkoath focus. But
cool. That was the answer that I expected for a number of reasons, but it was good to go. Like people are probably looking over the fence, they're going, "Oh, this is working really well with other chaos units. What does that strategy mean for me?" And I agree wholeheartedly. You can. I don't know if I would. And to the point of Fell Riders, they're fast enough that you probably don't need it, especially with the banner or a pledge. You could do as you said, the Marauders, but again, are you trading up, delivering that 160? Is it worth it? And what does it do to your list? We probably spent more than I wanted on that, but it was good. Like it was a really good discussion. And hopefully it helps people think like, if they're going to do it, who do they do it with? And is it worth it? And maybe for the person who is playing the traditional slaves list and not the full Darkoath list, maybe this is an option for you. Maybe.
It could be, and it could be great.
We've obviously talked a lot about the Darkoath Horde, right? And I think it's very, very clear that your army is making the most of having multiple heroes, where Gunnerbrand comes in with the mix, adding extra heroes to the mix. We're clearly reliant on the 3R. We're thinking about, the recursion and yada, yada, yada. Do you think the Darkoath, an army like yours or something like yours, could you make the most of other ones like the Legion of Chaos, the Godwrath Warband, or Despoilers? Do you see much play of Darkoath units outside of heavy Darkoath based armies in the others?
I think the key word there is heavily. I think 80 points for 10 idiots is not bad these days. Okay. So I think you could utilize Marauders in a variety of different ways. Mostly for maybe zoning, maybe screening. Screening is like, it's so underused these days. Like no one gives a crap about us. We live in the I'll kill you before you kill me game right now, or DPS checks. But there's something to be said about a good cheat screen. And I think Marauders can give that to you. Going heavily though, Yeah, I just don't see it. If you're not using Dark Oath heavy list in a Dark Oath horde army, I that's rough. It's gonna be a rough game because I can't. Every single one of that game, I would bring. It was paramount. Just bringing things back. It's not only bringing things back; it's putting them in an awkward place for your opponent. So that being gone, I just don't see it. Like even a Rotor Fiend is like, I don't know. I don't think I'd pay the 140 for Rotor Fiend, at least not. I'm not taking that. So short answer is not really.
All right. Well, while I'm talking to you then, and I agree with you, like you could do God Wrath, but like, is the God Wrath ability worth like not getting the recursion? No. More units more often is clearly the better answer. But talk to me about the Army of Renown. That's the Snowy Peak thingy-mabobbers.
Yeah.
Because people want it to be good, but I've never seen it competitively run. I've just never seen it. So what's your thoughts, and why, if you don't like it, do you think it's a miss, or what's it missing that would make it, like, what do you need from it?
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is that you are taking a really, really great book, that's the Slaves of Darkness book, and you're taking it and you're throwing it out the window. and then you're getting this 2 pages worth of rules, the Snow Peaks Tribe or whatnot, and you're going, okay, these rules were great. I'm gonna throw them in the toilet. I'm gonna use these. And at the end of the day, I really think it feels bad. It's just you're gonna feel bad all the time playing this sub faction because it revolves around getting oaths, and oaths are tough. They make oaths very tough for Darkoath. Even the supposed easier ones, like roll an 8 on their charge. As I'm staring at my Reavers and Corn, that's like, just make a charge and you'll get some Ren. As I'm staring at them, I gotta like work my butt off over here to get Ren 1. So the problem is that you can't Kled. You are stuck trying to complete these very hard oaths, and the reward isn't like amazing. It's just it's a little bit less than meh. Whatever a word is that's less than meh, it's that. So if you really want to challenge yourself and go somewhere and use this army, God bless. That's even beyond what I would try. But good luck. I wish the best.
Yeah, like just refreshing my memory on it. I remember it's basically AoS on hard mode. This would be really cool on like a casual narrative. Let's have some beers and pretzels and have fun with my mates. But often these types of rules will conflict with what you want to do, which is scoring the battle tactic, contesting the objective, and you often get conflicted. Like, do I go for my oath? Do I go for my win condition? And you never want that at a tournament, which is where that it's unnecessary complexity with an army that's already tough.
And for those who actually really do want to play this, I think you can, and there's a perfect system that just came out where you can play this, and it's called Papidwar.
I was going to say the same thing.
I would do it. I would play this in a Papidwar campaign because there's a little thing that us competitive folks forget about, is that there's a whole narrative aspect of this game that you can play, and that I will be playing actually with my cousin tomorrow, and he's not competitive, and we're going to make it really 2 stupid armies, and we're going to have a cool story, and that's what we're going to do. And so there is a place for this. I just don't think it's in a competitive.
If you do, it's because you're going to a tournament, because you just want to have fun, roll dice. You have no expectations of winning. And let's say you can't win. Like, I don't want to put a damper on it, but you're just playing this game on hard mode, like expert hard mode. So
this is the hardest of the hard. If you win a game, like you're getting a handshake. So that's my opinion on it. But maybe someone will come along and make a 4-1. You can invite him and talk about how wrong I was too.
If you 4-1 with that faction, I will. You can come on this show, folks. Challenge like a decent 50-player tournament.
I just want to talk. I just want to talk.
Personal invitation to the channel. You are absolutely welcome. The other thing I just call out really quickly as well is your list can't actually directly go into this because you'd have to sacrifice your Demon Prince, you'd have to sacrifice your Fury. So that makes it really heavily restrictive. That again makes it hard to compete potentially. So a couple of other quick things. Look, you've talked about reflection of your banner. You did pick Khorne. Was Khorne your banner that you had on your tournament? And I think you've said Nurgle was the banner. Like, what would moving forward based on what you've learned? What are your banner choices, and where do you like to put them?
Yeah. So it was Khorne on the banner of rage on the horses, and maybe like it's not bad. Like I still really like it. But going forward, just the fact that playing these games, you get some reps in. People just really like, and I would too. Like, you want to laser focus and get these horses tapped into combat, and I found it difficult for them to be safe in a lot of my games. So in the future, I think the banner Screaming Rage is probably the way to go. You're still going to get your extra attack on the charge, and you know what? As long as things go right, you're going to kill the thing. So you'll hopefully be able to do it again, maybe. So, banner Screaming Rage. The Dread banner, it's so good. Like, I played that in the future. We might talk about the slaves list I played. He had 10 shows with this banner, and it was amazing. Like, so that's also a consideration. But I would say the banner of the Screaming Flesh is the way I would roll in the future. You could put a banner on Marauders or something, but you know what? Why? Like, yeah, the Fell Riders are the only thing that has enough wounds and enough, like, it can do something with a banner. It has to be Fell Riders, in my opinion. And I think the banner of Screaming Flesh.
And there probably could be an argument of the Dread banner going on the Fell Riders too, right? Because that means that there's no all-out defense, which just makes that charge even juicier. But I think
and you can change the mark. So yeah, I think the Dread banner is very tempting. So I don't know. There's 3 good options here. Nurgle, for a Darkoath army, and I think in general, Nurgle is kind of an elite. We went from like everything's Nurgle to like how confident am I with scrolling, 6 up wards, and how many, I don't know. It's just it's a weird, which is nice. The -1 wound was like an auto pick.
At a tournament, there's probably never been a time where I'm like, man, I wish I could shut down crits. Like, sure, if it happened, it was nice, but it's never in a world like, man. I'll tell you what, like, I just played a game of Warhammer, the Old World, and there was a whole bunch of killing blows. I would certainly love to shut down killing blows, but crits, like waiting for a 6 on a X amount of abilities, and whatever, dude.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe big 20 blocker Chaos Warriors, and not even 10, but I'm talking about a big old fat hunk of 20 400 point Chaos Warriors. Maybe I might, that ward might come in handy, and it might be cool to have, not worry about crits. But like, beyond that, I don't know. There's so many more better options, I think.
If you're playing a standalone game at your local game store and you know your opponent and you know that they're going to play, if you're going to play specifically against a person, yeah, this actually could be a really good banner. If I'm going to a tournament where I don't know my matchups, it's not something that I really need. And I think, to your point, Screaming Flesh, Dread banner, Banner of Rage are probably the ones that I'd lean more towards at a tournament. But not everyone's a tournament player. Like, pick what works for you, but just like, without knowing the matchups, they're the ones I'd probably lean more towards. Couple of other really quick ones. Any particular favorite heroic traits, and who do you like putting them on?
Oh yeah, well this is pretty it's pretty quick. So like I had my warmonger on fight twice with fight twice, fight last. I mean that put that on a demon prince. Again, you're just looking to punch above that 290, and it's not hard for the demon prince. So he's super fast. He flies. He's got a free up save. He's got a ward. Got anything? He's got everything you would really want for a really cool hero. So, yep, Deathmonger all the way.
Yeah, and you don't have that super durable hero that you're going for that favor to the Pantheon. I can see that use. Like if you're getting that to get an extra demon print ASAP, you could go for that. But outside of that, I can see Deathmonger seems to be the preferred.
Yeah, if I didn't have a demon prince and if I ripped out more Darkoath, I just went full on to everything with Darkoath, I would do the favor to Pantheon, definitely over Deathmonger. You're just asking yourself to feel bad with the with a cheap swing twice.
And maybe that Deathmonger also helps you kill that hero that we know you probably won't, but it's a nice dream. It's a nice dream. You said Conqueror's Crown was something that, like, upon reflection, wasn't as useful.
Yeah. So I've been doing well. I was before the tournament using Infernal Puppet, and not because I think I'm going to use it every game, but because that one game that you might play like Nivalen, incredible. It would be incredible, but we're just there's a lot of armies that is super light casting armies. I mean, you have maybe one or maybe two casters in like a really cast heavy armies, and that's not it's not amazing. Like, but even on reflection, that's why I chose the Conqueror's Crown. I'm like, I could use this maybe in every single game. It could come up. Like, it could come up instead of like it just won't come up. But I don't know. I'm just on reflection. The Realm Warper's Twist Rune. Yeah, no, man, that's not for me. But too wordy. There's too much stuff going on. I don't know. I probably would go to Infernal Puppet just for the one game that it could be really good. But overall they're not very impressive, are they? But they're kind of okay.
Yeah, I could see Infernal Puppet being used, right? Because people who are running Krondus, you could do some damage to Krondus with that double cast. You go up against the Daughters of Cain Morathi. Like, how do I do those 3 damage in turn 1 without being in range?
Good idea.
There's a bunch of armies casting manifestations, especially double, so that might hinder someone or even delay somebody putting out those manifestations in turn 1. So it's always the psychological threat, because people always think worst case scenario, like, right, if I cast these 2 spells, it could be 6 damage, then that kills my wizard, which means I can't get my Cronspite out. Right. I'll like, you see those
saying someone that's they start up here and then you tell them they think of the worst possible thing before they just don't do it.
We, us players go, it's likely to be 1 mortal and do nothing, but the opponent always thinks worst case. So the psychological threat actually might be I see where you're going. Conqueror's Crown can be nice, especially in the war of attrition, but most time I think Infernal Puppet is a good choice. Obviously, he doesn't do anything with Suns or KO, and there's some Khorne and other factions that have no wizard, but there's probably no strong artifact.
It could come up, and I think going in the future, I think I would just rather pick it and forget about it, and until it comes up. So.
Much of a much. There's nothing strong. There's nothing crazy weak, but yeah, whatever you prefer is probably either way. Look, I'm not gonna. Is there any particular spell that you would cast more than other? Is there a choose here?
No, it's talking about the psychological aspect a little bit. I'll just touch on demonic speeds. So, like, when you're axed, can you get to here? As long as my wizard's around, I can be like, well, I can cast. And that's always just the fact that I can say that, well, I have a spell. That's alone is enough to just completely change some plans, even if I had no intention on even trying. Like, and that's why you should always be upfront with your opponent, because you know what? It can be more of a jab on them. I mean, just knowing what you can do, even if you don't have intention on doing it. So this thing, I had the mod speed, great. I don't think I used it once, and maybe I used it once. I don't know. But the fact that I had it's great. Spite Tongue Curse is clutch. It can be clutch. Like if you need like a couple wounds or something needs to get out of combat. And then Binding Damnation came in one time. And they came in really big. But beyond that, I was mostly just trying to cast it constantly. That's the dream, though. Cast it constantly. And it's not hard. It's not hard with
And this might be where the Infernal Puppet then ties up with the Spite Tongue Curse, because you chip away some damage in the early game, then you get within 12 and you go for Spite Tongue Curse, and now you've killed that wizard. If they happen to be tied to a Cron Spine, the Cron Spine disappears, or the Purple Sun disappears. I'm throwing ideas. You run with what you've got. The spells are fine. But you're right. Like the demonic speed, people are like, holy crap, you've got the Banner of Flesh, plus you've got demonic speed. You've got 2 potential threats. I won't deploy on the line. I will spread out and make sure that you don't make easy targets. And that was never your intention, to charge in the top of turn 1. But again, it's made them harder for them to get objectives. It makes it harder to see as
you can. Just saying that you can do something sometimes is enough to just completely change a deployment or completely change a battle tactic. It's just the possibilities.
Yeah. Even just like people had a plan of going first at the top of the round. They go, oh, if you can do that, I'll give it to you. Or the other way around is I go, I'll take it because, I want to do X.
Well, a perfect example of that in my very first game. It was just the fact I could do something that he's like, oh shit, I have to take turn 1.
Is that the Gits player?
That was Jose. He's a Seraphon player. He's the first person I played. Very good, very experienced guy. And I was
good people, because people don't want to get pinned in their deployment zone, right? It's like, okay, cool, I'm going to take first just to move up to the board and contest objectives. And then I know I can't stop being charged. At least I'm sitting where I want to be. And again, that was never your intention, but because you can, people freak out sometimes. All right. Probably last question, and then we'll wrap this up. And I do have a burning question I want to ask you after this. Is a spicy one. You pick Conspine. Where are you at with manifestations? Because you're not a heavy magic army. You don't have a lot of magical tools. You've gone Cronspine. What does Cronspine bring to the mix? Why not the other universals, and why not the slaves? Like, what does slaves add or not give you from a manifestation lore?
So as you said, I'm running a very low casting army, and I think slaves in general. I mean, you could lean into casting if you want to, but I just wanted one caster to access. Just having one caster, you get access to so many different possibilities, and I chose Cronspine because it's kind of like one caster and a Cronspine on a +2 if you're in the right spot with your realm, not realm shaper, but your piece. And you position it. That's it. The Nexus Chaotica. What a cool name. I never remember. You position that next to a place of power, and then it's not hard to get a +2 cast, and then you really need a 6. And then you have a Cronspine. And you know what? Cronspine. A Cronspine is great. It was great in my games. It was just there, and it was a beat stick. A lot of times, folks they want to get rid of it as soon as possible, and when they're hitting a Cronspine, they're not hitting my 5-up, 6-up, Darkoath dives and furies and stuff. So it was perfect. It's almost it's a little bit of a distraction, but not really. Like, it's a distraction in the sense of like, here's a Cronspine suddenly popping up out of nowhere, and maybe I should deal with it. But it's not a distraction. You know what? It's a Cronspine, so I can do a lot of stuff with it. So and I just rather do I just rather bring out one cool thing and then sort of focus on the spells that I have, like Bite Last, like the Binding Damnation. He has Spike Tongue Curse here and there. Maybe I want to, and this doesn't, this gets still underused. Maybe I want to banish something. You know, that comes up, and you know, people just don't banish anymore. Even doing wounds on a conspine, you know, it's a lot of times it's work with banish, and so yeah, I guess my mentality was just let me just get the one cool thing, and then I'm just going to, you know, do whatever. Like they did their job, right? And anything else more I do after that is just icing on the cake.
Yeah, I can see the real distraction card effects idea, because the minute you got a Cronspine, it takes people's focus. And look, the Cronspine is rocks and diamonds. It swings. What does it hit on 4s? Yeah, it doesn't do damage. It's so swingy, right? But it's so dependent on that hitting on 4. And there's been plenty of times where the Cronspine is just deleted things. There's been plenty of times where it's done a whole lot of nothing. It's just sat there and whiffed. And I think my point is that, like, yeah, you those wounds are being allocated to the Cronspine. You've gained yourself extra focus, extra wounds, while your horde is advancing up the board undamaged. And then when they decide to attack, you're in a good spot. So I can see and because of the 3d6 charge on manifestations, it does give you a nice little response to handle anyone who is fighting with manifestations, and gives you maybe a 1-2 punch with the Fell Riders and the Cronspine, who are both very fast.
Yeah, and something maybe even more so than the punch it delivers. It's the fact that you have like 12 wounds on a 4-up, 6-up, and like it usually doesn't go away in one turn. You know, it's just there, and it's kind of pinning things. So they, you know, and then it gives you an opportunity to really hit something, like stay with and Bow Rider. So, yeah,
love it. Couple of quick final questions. I'm sure we could keep talking. I think we've done a pretty good job, considering we've mostly just focused on the couple of Darkoath units that you've got. One unit that we haven't spoken about, and I can't remember if we talked about the War Queen. I think we talked about the War Queen off stream, but just to summarize, you didn't pick the War Queen because of the I'll let you say it.
Yeah. So it's kind of counterintuitive to what I was trying to run. It sounds really nice, like I have a way to get a 5 or 4. Yeah, that's always nice, right? The problem is the timing on that, which is like it's in your turn, and it's on stay with me, a 3-up. So it's like what's your goal there? It's I don't know. It's like if you're not moving up the board, you also have to be like contesting the objective. You're not moving up the board and doing something, and you just want to stand there, and maybe you have a list that's what they want to do. You want to stand there and just take it, like as if Marauders are this tanky unit that's hard to ship, which they're spoiler alert, they're not. Even with a 5-up war, you just won't. You'll be disappointed. Yeah, it's just the +1 to hit. She also has another oath. Oath of Supremacy.
The once per battle +1 to hit if you're wholly within enemy territory.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. I mean, like I said, you kind of just have to get over that hump. That if you have a dream that your Darkoath are going to like survive any type of hit back, and then you're going to counterattack with that unit, and your enemy can't kill your horde, and you're just overwhelming them, and you're probably going to be disappointed. I would suggest just leaning into doing the most, like leaning into punishing your opponent as much as possible before your stuff disappears, and then popping them back up somewhere else. With a queen, I think you're really hoping to survive, and even if you survive, then you have like 6 guys left. You'd probably rather them they were dead, to be honest. Yeah, she's cool. I like her, and maybe she does have. Maybe I would lean into the Oath of Supremacy if I was playing her, and just try to be here as that offensive sort of like getting your guys on a 3-up to hit is really nice. And just not ignore, but like put the 5-up ward to the back. I could see her being cool like that, but for 30 points more than a just a humble chief, I think I think I'd just rather take the chief, and she doesn't give those extra attacks either. The chief does that. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with her. She's cool, and I do think you can make a competitive Darkoath list with her, but I don't know. I think it's a little bit more points conscious to pick out those chiefs, do the one thing and do it better.
There's so many conditions, Dan. Like, I'm just rereading Oath of Supremacy. You've got to be wholly within enemy territory, and you've got to charge. So you get +1 to hit for the rest of the battle. So, like, that could be a good delivery mechanism from the Gaunt Summoner, but then she has to be within 12 inches to use that ability. And, like, there's just so many conditions for
There's a lot of like, and to get, and at the end of the day, you're just trying to get a +1 hit, man. It's like, but then on top of all of that, guess what? She has to survive. So it's rough. It's rough to make it work.
For a +1 to hit, I'd rather just get my 4 CP, put one to the side, and go, this is, assuming you don't shuttle command.
I'm going to take a CP, and ignore all of that. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
I love the model. She's the reason I got into Darkoath, and when she came out with Malign Portents, I'm like, I remember going, I hope they build on this concept. Like, yeah, cool, you had the Darkoath Chieftain in Warhammer Quest, and then you had the Darkoath Queen. I'm like, bring more models out, and I want to run her, but like, it's a hard argument against, and she's more expensive than bloody the Chieftain.
She is 30. She's 30 points more than a chief. But she's 10 points cheaper than the war steed, the chief on steed. So
that's weird.
Yeah. She got 5-up ward, which is kind of nice. But I guess you could run her and it wouldn't be detrimental. Like, I don't think you're gonna be, oh, what a auto lose here. But I just feel like I don't know. You have to work a little bit harder with her, and she might be a good pick for Eye of the God as well, or the Dark Apotheosis. So I don't know. Like, I'd be interested in trying her out, seeing what's up. But sometimes these things are better than what they look. But I like my humble Chiefs, my humble 90-point Chiefs. Fine.
Yeah. I think the points difference is too much, and I'd still rather the Chieftain. If there was a way to bring that down to a 2-up on an artifact, if I could, do that Blessed Rue, or even if I could double reinforce those Marauders to get them to 30, then that 5-up ward makes it really tanky. But on 20, on a 3-up, adding extra points, it's like
so many stipulation after stipulation after stipulation. It was, I don't know. Like, I don't mind doing stipulations, but the reward has to be like really good, man. Like give me something worth salivating over to do all these hoops and loops and jumps and dips, and I'll try. Then I'll be tempted.
Last question for you, and this is one that I'm very curious about, because I have a belief. This is a speculation. Don't think that I'm some person leaking rules. Like, it's just a speculation here. Do you think Darkoath will be its own faction someday, whether it is a full blown out faction by itself, or whether it's almost like Auric War Clans, where you've got your Warriors of Chaos, your Darkoath, maybe there's a soup, like a big war type of like uniting of the hordes under somebody. And part of the reasoning and got me thinking a little bit, right? We know Beasts of Chaos are being retired eventually. We've got this great Herdstone. We've got these great Beasts of Chaos manifestations that are about to disappear, right? The manifestations are not in old world, so Beastmen can't use them. The Herdstone, I actually bought a Herdstone before when I heard that announcement. So I'm like, this would be a really cool terrain piece for a display board for my Darkoath. I wonder, or what do you think, Do you see them being their own faction? Do you see them stealing some stuff from Beasts of Chaos when Beasts of Chaos eventually dip out, whether it's rules, whether it's things like Gorgon and Cygors and things like that? What's your prediction of the faction?
Oh boy, I really want a meme of it. I want to believe like
You're so American. You're
so
American. All the Americanism.
but to be honest, I actually, I can see it. I can maybe not next year, maybe not the year after, to be realistic. But they just keep adding these really cool units. And, Darkoath is not a old now. It's a fairly new-ish thing that they've done the past couple of years with slaves, and I think slaves does have. I don't want to say they're bloated unit-wise, but they're it's a thick faction. There's a lot of stuff you can bring right now, so I can see them adding a few more units because right now it wouldn't. We had Marauders and Fell Riders, some heroes and stuff. If they were to add a couple more units, I can see them. I could easily see them being their own. Like this is the Darkoath book, like because they are substantially different than Warriors of Chaos. Like they're a lot. They have a play style, lore wise, like they're so different than the Warriors of Chaos. So I can see them in the future being like a book, maybe what 5th edition or wherever we're at right now. Maybe I could see it, but right now I don't think there's enough. This is not enough right now to really be their own faction. I think, but give her a couple more units and some more rule, maybe a special character. That would be a very good sign if we had a special Darkoath character. That's something big is happening for them in the future. So, right now, they're kind of just that weird side piece, in a Slaves of Darkness book, which for a side piece, they get a lot of love. And there's a lot of art. There's a lot of focus on Darkoath. And if you ever looked at this Slave book, I mean, they're everywhere. So, short answer is, I hope. But probably not anytime soon.
I would love, and you're right, maybe it's the next battle tome, maybe it's 5th edition. I don't know what it is, but I feel like the Beast of Chaos identity needs to be retained in some way.
Yeah.
And yes, the Beastmen aura may disappear, right? But the aesthetics and what the Beastmen are of like these marauding hordes that you're sneaky and they're plentiful and they're bestial. I think that Darkoath can take over some of that. Does that mean like ogres where you can choose the more pit or the more pot, and you in slaves you pick either the nexus or the herdstone? I can definitely see a world where a slaves player has a herdstone that's supporting their Darkoath, whether it's increasing the rend, giving them extra attacks, giving them maybe boosts to those oaths. And you talked about the synergy on the models of the oath stones with the herdstone. Maybe there's something there that I would love to see them have more of an identity beyond their aesthetic and beyond just being cheap garbage, because I think it makes it really nice and it makes the Warriors of Chaos feel special when you're mixing these really high armored elite Warriors of Chaos with the average Joe fighting for survival.
Yep.
And it brings a nice synergy to the aesthetics, because when you've got like all these Varangard, you kind of forget these Varangard are the best of the best. These are like to have one Varangard is like incredible. These people are like the 2 ICs to Archaon.
Yeah.
That we see them like running around with like 12 Varangard. You're like,
yeah. I mean, we forget. I mean, we're just and like a friend of mine, Laurent, he ran our event at Midwest Back. He came up to me several times, asking about the list and stuff. And he's like, the problem is in the Slaves of Darkness list is that nobody's playing Darkoath because they just look at it's kind of detrimental to Games Workshop to kind of shoot themselves in the foot because there's people who want to run Darkoath, but then you look like I could run this, or I could just run something that just is better, seemingly like Baron Guard spam or a Baron Guard chosen with Bellador. That seems to be a cookie cutter, really really good list, really good people play, and I think that's what harms Darkoath the most is not themselves, but the faction that they're stuck in. Everything else just seems so much. It seems so much better that you don't even. You're like you just look at it. I don't even want to try it. Like it's that bad, but it's really not. Like you just put a little work into it, and you can make a lot of work. I mean, I kind of think of them as sort of the cities of Sigmar of chaos. They're just dudes trying to survive, and they're trying. You just want to play just a bunch of humans. Trying to get by, and you really want to win a game with just people. Just your average fantasy person who's probably getting, says he just had a terrible life living in the mortal realms. There you go. That's Darkoath for you.
And that's it. Like, if you look at the rules, they're not bad guy humans to chaos. Like, these are people who are living in very harsh conditions. And when they are tempted by the dark gods giving them some relief or some boost to help them in their very, very hard life, you can kind of empathize why people will turn to the gods to get that help to keep their tribe and their families alive. And it's probably why I'm like, imagine a world where they take that ambushing of Beasts of Chaos, because we're going to lose it, right? Like if Beasts of Chaos disappear, we lose that.
That would be amazing. I love that idea.
Imagine Darkoath being able to ambush from the side, and then you add the Hearthstone like that. That excites me. Like that makes me a Darkoath player.
Yeah, I love the idea. Like I think they could easily fill that gap, and people would rush to it because it's amazing. I also feel like it's hard, but I mean they're almost like a destruction faction. Like I would love them to just be a destruction faction. Like it's tough because the oath are so intricate, like the runes. It's like you can't get around the fact that they. But I think they could do something with that where they could still get sort of like a pat on the back from the Chaos Gods. That's essentially what's happening. And then, but at the end of the day, they can be a destruction army, and I really hope that's the case because there's no destruction army that I really like. It's just not my aesthetic. I don't like, or I don't. I love destruction, but I don't like the faction. And I think if a Darkoath army was to come along, I would definitely be all about it.
For someone who doesn't like 3-ups, you don't want to be a destruction army because you'll be doing 4-ups.
Well, it might be better. I mean, I don't know.
No, it's not. As a destruction player, no, it's not. Last wish listing, and I want to touch on what you said. Like, imagine a world where there's a centerpiece like a war mammoth. Again, I think about the Forge World big mammoth that they used to have back in the day. Like, imagine Warlord. And I think of like Game of Thrones as well. That's why I'm wearing like the hat, right? Men of the North, Northscar. Imagine these big old woolly mammoth chaosy type of thing, and you've got like a warlord sitting on top and leading the tribe with that centerpiece. It's kind of missing that centerpiece again. If you're making it a full faction, give me that centerpiece hero, 20 wounds, like the hordes just around it. Like just it reminds me of like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. Like that's. I don't know. I'm getting myself worked up here. I'm getting myself worked up here, Dan.
Yeah, bring in like some type of Ragnar, hero. Just just let's make him like a really badass fantasy Viking. Like let's go. Like
Fenris Wolf type things have like some wild beasts that like follow along. Like give it to me, man. Give it to me. I'm signed up.
No, I'll take it. I'll take your whole stuff.
Dan, this has been awesome. Again, like you can just see me, like I'm like, there's so much potential and it's great to see them. And I hope this conversation helps inspire people, get those on the table. Yes, they're not the greatest. Yes, they're not chosen, but there is a space for them. And hopefully if we see more of them on the table, hopefully we get some rules rewritten. Because I think to your point, and obviously all of the questions, and I've got so many questions and didn't ask you, is it the community wants it? the community wants Darkoath to be good. They want them on the table. It's just that there's some things, the Army of Renown, some of the abilities, some of the things that are just holding us a little bit back. But I think you've started to show the way, and I hope this inspires people to try more, play more. And if Games Workshop's listening, let's keep building on these rules, because I think you've got a big audience who are ready to join the tribe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you just start playing them. If people just start playing them, I think the you'll see a big jump in them as a thing. But you just got to start playing them.
Are you on social media at all? Anyone that, if they want to talk to you, other than like trying to stalk you on Facebook, like I randomly weirdo did? You've recently joined my Discord, so people want to talk more, they can find you and chat more. And I hope this inspires some future discussions. But
Yeah, well,
where can they
find you? I'm on your Discord. I'm on our St. Louis Discord here, and we have a Queen City Sigmar Tomahawk Facebook group here in Springfield as well. So but if anyone has a question or whatnot, I can at the very least be on no Discord. Other than that, I'm just a guy, just a man.
just like the Darkoath, but in math, you are forced to be reckoned with.
You gotta kill me, and I'll come back at half stream.
Well, props you. I won't do that to you at Adepticon. I'll give you a hug more than a stab here.
You're playing at Adepticon.
Yeah. I'm going to play singles, but I'm not going to play teams because I'd like to float around the convention.
Yeah, me too.
Go check out, like, as much as I want to do teams, because teams is the pinnacle, it would then mean that of the 4 days of the convention, 4 are playing, and you don't get to experience. I just want to chat to people. I want to hang out. I want to have a laugh. I want to, like, if someone needs me on the day, maybe I step in as a bybuster, but it's not.
The convention is just amazing. Yeah, I would recommend to Adepticon to anyone. Like, just go there and spend at least one day to just walk around, play. Trench Crusade is going to be a big one this year. Just go around, talk to people. These guys that are at proper armies and games, they love it. They're usually the ones that made it. And have a good time.
Looks like Atomic Mass is going hard as well. Like Marvel's going to be probably off the charts. So there's a whole bunch of things I want to check out. But yeah, I'll be playing the GT, so I'll bring my sons for some smashing. Who knows? Maybe we'll pair up and have a good laugh.
Be great. Good time.
Dan, this has been an absolute pleasure. I think we could talk forever. I've got to go to work. You've got probably stuff to do. Go say hello to your dog for me. Thank you so much, chat. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was a good discussion. And again, come check out Discord, come chat. I think there'll be plenty of us who will be want to crack this nut and getting the most out of Darkoath. But until then, thanks everyone. Have a good rest of your day. Bye. Thanks for hanging around until the end. I hope you enjoyed that video and you walked away with a few new ideas. Now, if you did, I would love it if you pressed like on the video, as well as left me a comment with your thoughts. The conversation will continue over on Discord, and the link is down below in the episode description. I also want to give a massive shout out to the AoS Coach patrons and YouTube members who are supporting the channel and the growth that you're seeing here. So cheers, you are all bloody legends. And until next time, don't roll a 1-1 on a spell cast.